What's up, everyone? Mr. NoobTube Gamer. Today we're playing Star Wars Battlefront 2 in 2024. 7 years later, the game has gone through a lot over the years. As most of you guys know, when this game first came out, it was very controversial, especially with the loot boxes that they were doing, pretty much making the game pay to win. A lot of people weren't having it, and it actually was such an overwhelmingly negative reaction that EA was forced to change. They've never changed their decisions before, but this time they did, and they removed the pay-to-win aspects of the game and actually made the game good and fair. And from then until 2020, the game got regular updates, new maps, new heroes, new content. It was great. It was a great time. Then 2020 happened, and they decided, yeah, we're no longer going to support Battlefront 2. We had all these updates planned. We were going to add Asajj Ventress. We were going to add Ahsoka. We were going to add all these heroes to the game. We were going to add all these maps. Mustafar, Coruscant. We were going to get a whole bunch of new content than we actually did. The game was just getting started. They're like, nah, we're not supporting the game anymore. We have to support Battlefield 2042. All hands on deck. Every EA developer in 2020 was forced to work on 2042. And you think, oh my god, you have all these people just abandoning their projects and going to 2042. 2042 is going to be an amazing game, right? Right? Ended up being the worst Battlefield of all time. Yeah, so much for that. The blow wouldn't have been as bad if Battlefield 2042 ended up an amazing game and one of the best Battlefields, right? Then it'd be like, oh, okay, fine, I understand. But no, that game was awful, and they killed Battlefront 2 for it. And Battlefield 5. Then it got even worse than that, because around that same time, in 2020, Battlefront 2 was free on the Epic Game Store, which on surface level sounds like a great thing. You have, the game is free, and you have all these players jumping in, and the game can stay alive now, because you have more people playing. Well, that ended up actually killing the game, because as a result of the game being essentially free to play for a while, it inspired a lot of people to cheat and hack the game on PC to the point where it became unplayable. And they weren't worried about getting banned because they claimed the free game on multiple accounts, so if they got banned, they would just go on the other account and keep doing what they were doing. And it just spread like a virus. Everybody was cheating. You would always find a hacked lobby for at least a couple of years. It just recently got fixed. So yes, we're talking about 2024. We're not talking about 2022 or 2023, because if I was making the video in those years, the game would definitely not be worth playing, at least on PC. Console never really had much of a cheating problem because the game did not have crossplay support, so the console player base was shielded from the attacks on the PC version, thankfully. So, at least if you were on PlayStation or Xbox, this didn't even affect you at all. So for a while the game was unplayable, but it actually got fixed on PC, to the point where I could actually recommend this game in 2024. This was around early 2023 to mid-2023, where EA actually got off their asses and fixed the fucking game. So now you're starting to actually have people play the game on PC again, because people didn't want to bother. It was unplayable. Every single match had cheaters, people with aimbots, people with invincibility, and all this fucked up shit. It's all good now, though. So that's great. I don't know if it's gonna hold up. It could very easily come back, in a year or 2 years. It'll be just as unplayable as it was the previous few years. Hopefully that doesn't happen, but for now, it is pretty stable. And the game graphically still looks great, especially on PC, but even on consoles, even if you're playing on PS5, it wasn't enhanced on the PS5, it's still PS4 graphics, but it still looks amazing in my opinion, regardless of where you're playing it on. And there's also a wide variety of game modes to play. You have the big battle game modes like Supremacy. You also got the smaller COD-style games like Blast, which is pretty much team deathmatch. And of course, Heroes versus Villains, which is probably the best part of the game in my opinion. I love it so much. It's better, even better than the original Heroes versus Villains in the OG Battlefront 2. But I love that they have all these different game modes that they put in the game, and they all feel like they could be their own game entirely. Like, they're completely different experiences, and they're all fun. In my opinion, this game is better than Battlefront 1 in every single category. I did enjoy the star card system in Battlefront 1, and also the way in which you obtain a hero or a villain, like to be able to play as Darth Vader or Luke Skywalker or any other character, special character. It would just randomly spawn in the map, and anybody had a chance of getting it instead of when Battlefront 2 system where you have to spend points that you earn throughout the game, but at some point everyone has enough points to play as the hero, and they're just sitting on the menu screen waiting for that hero to become playable because you can only have 2 playable heroes per team at any given point. There's obviously a lot more than 2 people that want to play as Anakin or Yoda or Count Dooku or General Grievous, Darth Vader, you know? So I would say that's the biggest flaw that this game has, because it just takes so many people out of the game because they only want to play as a hero or a villain, and they will just sit and wait for that character to be playable. It's just a shitty system. Battlefront 1 did it way better as far as how you can play as a hero or a villain, but Battlefront 1 had a pathetic lineup of heroes and villains, and Battlefront 2's was amazing, so I wouldn't really even give that for Battlefront 1 as an advantage. I would actually say another disadvantage is that most of the characters that you play, like the special characters that you use points for, not necessarily like a Jedi or a Sith, or even like a really special character like Boba Fett or someone like that, like you have these mid-tier characters that are not regular infantry, but they're also not like a Jedi or a Sith or like a named character. They're just like for example, you have the assassin droid that has the sword, you have the Republic Commando, and you have all, you know, like all those special characters. None of them are playable in first person. Even though the game is supposed to be a hybrid, it's supposed to be a third person and first person shooter, but the game clearly prefers you to play the game in third, and you're highly encouraged to play in third person because the first person content is just not nearly as fleshed out as the experience in third person is. And that's a huge contrast to the original Battlefront 2, where, you know, if you were playing like a character with a lightsaber, like Obi-Wan or Vader, you couldn't play in first person, but if you were playing someone like Jango Fett or Boba Fett or Han Solo, you could play in first person, but you cannot do that in this game, which I really don't like. But those are really the only 2 complaints that I have. Everything else is all positive. I already talked about how amazing the graphics are. The map design is great. The immersion is probably the best in any Star Wars game. As much as I love the older games, I mean, they use the technology of the Frostbite engine very effectively, and it's been 7 years. We're close to a decade that this game has been out, and it still feels like a modern game. Doesn't feel like it's aged one bit, which also extends to the gameplay itself, not just the visuals. It plays fantastic. From the weapon design, the sound design, how the guns actually feel using in the game, the gunplay, it's all mind-blowing how good it is and how good it still is. That's the thing. Ever since Battlefield 3, DICE has done an amazing job of making their games age incredibly well. Even Battlefield 3, which came out 13 years ago, still feels like it could be a modern game. The other thing, of course, that makes it instantly better than Battlefront 1 is the 3 eras of Star Wars, because Battlefront 1 only had the 1, this one has 3, including the Clone Wars, which is the best era of Star Wars, has the best maps in the entire game. It's just, it's the most fun that you'll ever have, is playing as a clone or playing as a droid. It's great. I don't really care much for the sequel stuff because it's just, like, playing the game really emphasizes how much the sequel really didn't have anything original and fresh to offer. It was just a basic reskin of the original trilogy and not a very good one. And I just have no care about anything, any content with the sequel trilogy, because those 3 movies were awful in different ways. They were terrible in different ways, but they were all really bad. So I really don't engage with the sequel trilogy content in the game, but it's still nice that it's there, I guess. I think if a Battlefront 3 is to happen, which there have been rumors that it got canceled and all this stuff, I don't know if any of that is actually true, but I think at this point, they shouldn't even bother making another Battlefront game until we have a new era of Star Wars introduced. I think eventually they're going to make either an Old Republic video game or an Old Republic movie series, whichever one it is. I think that would be great, like, to just have, like, that be another era, even if they don't do a movie or anything like that. And I think the game actually got canceled, the Old Republic remake. So just put Old Republic in Battlefront 3. That would be some awesome shit, because the Old Republic era is pretty cool. But yeah, if you're a new player, just warning you, the game is going to be a bit of a grind. You have to grind to level up and upgrade certain classes, like the officer class or the regular one or the sniper, like whichever one that you mainly use. because everyone who's playing this game, they're people who've played the game for years and years and years, so they have all their shit fully upgraded, all these abilities that you do not have yet. So you're gonna start off at a disadvantage. It's not even necessarily because you are less skilled than the other players. It's just that they have more XP and more attributes and more unlock shit. So yeah, that sucks. Especially heroes versus villains. That's gonna be really tough, trying to go up against their fully upgraded cards, and you have nothing. So you're gonna have to be a little patient with that. But I think it's worth it. It's worth the wait. It's worth the grind. It's not really that bad of a grind compared to most multiplayer games anyway, so it's probably better than what you're used to. And again, it might be an old and dated game and not a very relevant one anymore, but it still has a lot of players online. You're going to get matches pretty easily across all platforms, but as I alluded to earlier, there is no crossplay. So if you're on Xbox and your friend is on PlayStation and you want to play with that friend, this is probably not going to be the game for you, because that's not possible for this. I think that would have been a great feature for them to add. Maybe not, though, because of how the PC version was full of hackers. So if they added PC crossplay with consoles, that probably would have ended so well for the console community. But, for now it's fixed. So we'll see how long that lasts. The game is worth playing in 2024. It sucks that the game never really was able to reach its fullest potential with all the updates that were canceled. But despite that, it still ended up being an amazing game, full of a lot of content. There's still a lot of stuff in this game, even though it didn't get all the content that it was going to get. Still has a lot more than the first Battlefront game has to offer. And there's even modded content, like the content that was cut was actually re-added in the PC version with mods. Like there's a playable Ventress, a playable Ahsoka, and all these different characters, all these custom-made maps. The reason why I'm not really emphasizing that too much, though, and I didn't really talk about that in this video, is because no one plays it online. You're only going to really be able to play it against bots. So I don't really see the value in that personally. And I don't think it's worth trying to figure out how to install that shit just to have nobody online, because it's a pretty obscure thing. But it's a kick-ass game. One of the greatest online FPS games, or maybe not FPS, online shooting games of all time. And honestly, as someone who grew up with the original Battlefront games, I still have Battlefront 1 2004 as the best Battlefront of all time. But I think this one might be number 2, and the original Battlefront 2 is number 3, followed by the EA Battlefront 2015, Battlefront 1, and then I guess I'd put the PSP games below that. But yeah, this game definitely, I think it is better than Battlefront 2 2005, because it feels more immersive, it has just much more depth in the gameplay, more vehicles, more characters, more content overall, but I still can't put it above Battlefront 1 2004, because that was my first, and it holds a special place in my heart, and I still think that is just the GOAT. But let me know in the comment section, do you still play Battlefront 2 in 2024, and how would you rank it among all the Star Wars Battlefront games that we have had? And do you think we'll ever get Battlefront 3? Let me know in the comments down below. As always, thank you all for watching, and I'll catch you guys later. Peace.